Hi, I'm Patrick Smith, and you're listening to the Mountains and Leadership Podcast, Episode 7. Mark, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. It's a busy week.
Yeah, it's getting hot. It's like 95 degrees out there in Denver.
It's hot. It reminds me of my homeland, Texas.
It's going to be 107 in Grand Junction on Monday. So.
Okay, well, today we are going to talk about a couple of things. So, wanted to go over some of the stuff that you might have missed while you were paying attention to the Titan Sub news coverage cycle. There's a lot of, pay attention to this over here, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain over here
watch
kind
my
of thing.
hand, right? So, yeah, and you were talking about wanting to title this Working on Your Life, Not in Your Life, right? One of the big things are distractions.
That's right.
And so the distractions that happened while the Ocean Gate sub. Isn't it funny? It's like Pizzagate, Ocean Gate, Watergate.
All kinds of gates.
All kinds of gates. Anyway, Bill Gates. Anyway, no, I mean, you have so many things that were going on that just like nobody wanted you to know about. All right, so like the big one of the huge things that started while everybody was paying attention to the submarine and worried about these 5 men that were down at 12,000 feet, even though this is what really irks me, even though the U.S. government knew on Sunday that they heard an implosion. They heard it on Sunday, but they didn't put that information out there to let everybody know. They just kept, we're hearing bangs. We're hearing this. We're hearing that. Oh, no, we heard an implosion on Sunday. Sorry, guys. And they're out of air now. So they
strung it along until like that Thursday?
Yeah, the Thursday. They strung it all along.
Following it.
So the things that happened during that week, right? All right, number one, J.P. Morgan and Jeffrey Epstein emails were released, and now J.P. Morgan mistakenly deleted 47 million emails.
That's insane. 47 million emails. That's like I remember somebody else who bashed their computer with a hammer and lit it on fire during political season. Who was that? Last name Hillary?
Yeah.
Or Clinton?
Something like that. Yeah, no. Hillary, man. Crazy. So there's some notes on this I had. So 47 million emails deleted between Jeffrey Epstein and top level executives at JP Morgan. So the exchanges between Epstein, I'm just going to read this out. The exchanges between Epstein and Mr. Staley, I think that's how you say it. Staley, filed by the government of the U.S. Virgin Islands in a lawsuit claiming that JP Morgan facilitated Epstein's sex trafficking ring by handling his payments to recruiters and victims. According to court documents, JP Morgan serviced approximately 55 Epstein accounts between 1998 and 2013, years after the pedophile was first arrested in Florida for soliciting minors. So that's pretty crazy. And I want to put a plug in here for the movie Sound of Freedom. We put out a video recently offering free movie tickets if you'd go in and hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. By the time this podcast gets released, it'll be Wednesday. I would say Wednesday today's the 12th. So the 19th.
Yep. It'll be the 19th. So if that movie's still showing, guys, and you see this podcast, if you go in and you subscribe to our channel, send me an email. I'll put the email down at the bottom of the screen here. Let me know what your handle is or your username is for YouTube. I will confirm that. And out of the pool of people who subscribe, we will give you 2 free movie tickets to go see Sound of Freedom. It's about human trafficking and the slave trade. This is crazy.
It's a true story too. That's the worst part of this movie, and also the most just shocking was. And we saw it Monday night, right? It was incredible. Like your heart just doesn't feel right anymore. Well,
the media is touting this as a QAnon parallel conspiracy theory movie that aggs on conservatives. I don't care if you're black, white, blue, green, politically affiliated, Democrat, Republican, Independent. I don't care. I think we all can agree that human trafficking is wrong, and to hurt children like that is just atrocious.
Well, even Jewel came out this week and stated that, right? She's getting bashed on for supporting the movie, and she's like, guys, this isn't a right-wing, left-wing thing. It's a hurting
kids thing.
Yeah, but the media has come out in full force against it. In fact, I got blocked on one of the major social media websites for sharing some information about it. They actually prevented me for the ability to be able to upload any further videos. So we're working on that right now. I thought that was crazy because we're not even, like the Joe Rogans of the world that have a huge footprint on the internet, but they did it. They saw it. I guess there's an algorithm that they're blocking some of this stuff.
Well, now that we're going down this path real quick, I'm going to just read this off. Disney owned the rights to this film with no plan to release it. They sat on it for 5 years. 5 years. This movie was done 5 years ago. Angel Studios bought the rights, took it to Amazon, got turned down. Took it to Netflix, got turned down. After a 5-year delay, was able to get it in 2,600 theaters and beat out Disney's Indiana Jones on July 4th. The film is based on a true story. Truth is greater than fiction. Now ask yourself, who is trying to slander it, calling it a conspiracy, and while knowing it's a true story, and why?
What's the source on that you're reading?
This was an article on Facebook. I took a screenshot, so I can't source it. Indiana Jones. So
$14 million in opening weekend. I think Indiana Jones was close. It was something like 9 or 10 million.
Yeah.
And then The Sound of Freedom has already cleared $40 million. They've hit that mark.
Their total budget was $15 million.
Yeah. And so guys, go see the movie if it's still out. And, this is crazy. So we're going over some of the things that you maybe didn't catch or didn't see during the distractions over the Titan sub implosion. So this was number one. JP Morgan and Jeffrey Epstein emails were released, and now JP Morgan mistakenly deletes 47 million emails.
Right. To cover a pedophile.
What's that?
To cover a pedophile. That's dead.
It's crazy. And then number two, Joe Biden underwent impeachment vote in the House during that time frame as well. So the reasons for impeachment that were cited, they included handling of illegal immigration at the United States-Mexico border, the handling of the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan, the COVID eviction moratorium, and Hunter Biden's business dealings. And so, do I have this right? It was one of our senators for Colorado,
right?
Lauren
Boebert. Yeah, she's from Rifle.
She brought the impeachment charges forward, and I don't think he's currently going. Like, we're waiting to hear more about that, but those documents were introduced during the Titan sub implosion that week. Another one, number three, Pentagon announces they had an accounting error. $6.2 billion extra dollars were sent to Ukraine. They fat-fingered $6.2 billion to Ukraine.
Billion with a B.
Billion doll hairs. That's a lot of doll hairs. That was like June 20th. And so the Pentagon found it overestimated the amount of funding for ammunition, missiles, and other equipment. $6.2 billion due to an accounting error. Wow. Yeah. That's a lot of money.
The $6.2 billion breaks down to $3.6 billion for the fiscal year 2023 and $2.6 billion for fiscal year 2022.
So you think that was really an accident?
No. Goodness, no.
Okay, I want to artificially take the other side or the other stance. Like, how do you know? What if it wasn't an accident?
Have you ever sent a wire?
I've been involved with lots of wires over the years.
And if you even the bank questions you and they're like, so are you sure you want to send this wire?
So tell me how that process works, right?
And also sending a wire from in a company, there's a 2 to 3 step process of double checking figures and double checking numbers.
And that's like several $100,000. You're looking at billions. So,
checks and balances are in place, dude. Like
I heard an analogy somewhere. It's frustrating when people question whether or not the stuff was truly an accident or on purpose. Like, how do you know? How do you know? So it's like, if you said 2 plus a number equals 5, what's that number? 3. And then you answer 3, and people are like, how do you know? How do you know? It's like, come on, man. Like, how many like conveniences or
it just doesn't
circumstantial things happen? How many coincidences have to align before it's no longer coincidences, it's intentional? Right. So, I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit, but it's hard.
and it's on top of we're discussing on our last video, like, were these guys even in the sub? Like, what was going on here? So regardless, it's like, put them under 20 million pounds of pressure and we can't find anything. No kidding.
Yeah.
Shocking. Anyway, all right.
So number 4, Hunter Biden pleads guilty to tax evasion. So we know about that one. We'll go right into number 5. Hunter Biden gets a slap on the wrist while whistleblowers go missing. So number 4 and number 5 go hand in hand. So Hunter Biden was conducting business with suspected human traffickers. You know about the laptop. We all know about the cocaine habits that he's had.
Drug
What were the
cartel in
recent
Ukraine.
charges that he had? It was something with tax evasion, or he had some gun that he lied about. Like, what are the details on that?
I don't remember all the details on that, but I do know that they had him on video, and also had Joe Biden,
The big guy.
paying, threatening to not give aid if certain people weren't kept in office, that were going to bring charges against other people in Ukraine. I mean, the whole thing's manipulative, and Joe Biden, or Hunter Biden, was in the middle of all this. He was working for the company, and they needed to that Joe Biden was backing up. It's just crazy, dude. Like all the things that, and if you or I went and did all the things that he did over in Ukraine,
We'd be buried.
And then they're like, oh, well, wait, you didn't pay taxes on that $1.5 million. Okay. Well, we're just going to, not only we're going to just charge you with that, but we're going to give you a diversion for that. They didn't even, he's not even official. He's officially charged, but he underwent no prosecution for it, because a pre-trial diversion means that if you meet the criteria for this diversion, it's basically a pretrial probation. If you keep your nose clean for X amount of time, 1 to 3, I think his is 3 years.
Something like that.
Hunter Biden, keep your nose clean for 3 years, and these just go away. Or 2 years. So
it says here, Hunter Biden pleads guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges and admitting to felony gun possession, right? Hunter Biden's plea will include an acknowledgement that drug use was a contributing factor in his gun crimes. So they just found cocaine in the White House.
In the White House.
And they found it somewhere where it was high-level clearance area. So he has to acknowledge that drug use was a contributing factor in his gun crimes, and he will enter into a pretrial diversion, like you're saying, agreement on that charge. According to the filing, it is expected that for 2 years, Hunter Biden must remain drug-free and must not commit additional crimes. If he fulfills this successfully, the gun count would be dismissed. This does not amount to a guilty plea. That's lit, right?
Yeah.
So
who's gonna drug test him?
Maybe the big man. I don't know. So I was reading somewhere.
I did it myself. He's clean.
I'm good. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I saw somewhere where somebody got a hold of the phone number for what is said to have been a burner phone that went directly to the big man, and it was information taken off the laptops for Hunter Biden. When this reporter actually calls the phone number, he claims that Joe Biden answered the phone.
Wow.
I'll try to find some actual material on that and put it up here on the screen so that our audience doesn't think we're nuts and just spouting off fake stuff that has no credibility. I want to make sure, but I remember seeing that somewhere, and it just is highly relevant here. So one of the other things is that one of the whistleblowers on Hunter Biden is gone. His name was Gal Luft, and there's a Business Insider news article about him. So I think what he ended up doing, so he goes in and he says, oh yeah, look at, Hunter Biden is engaged in illegal activity with China. And I've got this article here. So it says, this is a Business Insider article, and it's called "A Man Who Accused Hunter Biden of Having Nefarious Ties to China is Now Being Charged with Having Nefarious Ties to China." So he accuses him of this. This guy is supposed to be a credible source for the GOP, and they go in to have him testify, and then they say, not so fast, we're going to slap him with charges. So it erodes his credibility, but his name is Gal Luft, and he claims he has proof of Hunter Biden's profiting off his family name and deals with China. Luft himself has been charged by the Department of Justice with false statements and being a foreign agent of China. It's kind of crazy.
After months of secrecy surrounding the charges against Luft, the indictment he has been unsealed. So this guy's a missing witness, or he just went. He was supposed to testify about this stuff with Hunter Biden. He's not around. They're like, where'd he go? So this article says a missing witness into the investigation of Hunter Biden's business dealings, who claims he has proof of the president's son's corrupt connections to Chinese government, has reappeared after he himself was accused of being a Chinese agent and fled custody. So days after Gal Luft publicly dared the DOJ to unseal the indictment against him, alleging alleging the charges he's facing are a political attempt to cover up his claims of Hunter Biden's corruption, officials did just that. So he's basically saying, because I'm a whistleblower, you went and found some trumped up charge and you caught me on a technicality or something, and so now they're charging him with this. And so there's videos of him actually on the run, saying like he'll be on the run for the rest of his life. Sounds very similar to Julian Assange or like the Edward Snowden scenario.
Edward Snowden, yeah.
Yeah. So the U.S. Attorney's Office on Monday releases the indictment against the U.S.-Israeli dual citizen who was arrested in Cyprus in February on charges of willfully failing to register under a Foreign Agents Registration Act, or the FARA Act. I guess FARA, should I say, arms trafficking, Iranian sanction violations, and making false statements to the federal agents. And so they got him on these charges. And I don't know if it's a matter of he just like improperly failed to file a certain status with a certain database or something. It's something to that effect. But anyway, he was a whistleblower, and all of a sudden he's got all these charges on him, and now he's on the run.
Right. So it's like
fact.
It's like one of those things. It's like when you've gone to the principal's office enough times, or when you've tried to call the authorities enough times, and you're like, and they're like, yeah, well, we just don't see anything. You're probably the one, you're probably the guilty one here, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of whistleblowers and other conspiracy things, the Durham Report.
Yeah. So Durham Report. This is number 6. Things you missed while you were paying attention to the Titan sub implosion. So the Durham Report. John Durham had his congressional hearing regarding the Russian hoax. And so, just for any of you who may not know what that is, so Durham concluded that federal investigators did not have any actual evidence of collusion between Trump and 2016 campaign and Russia before launching a year-long probe into the matter. That finding was at the core of Durham's most scathing criticism of the FBI's decision to launch a full investigation into Trump. So he's saying, if you recall during his presidency, they just kept hammering Trump about the fact that he was this Russian collusion
right?
guy's deep agent for Russia. That all came out to be one big nothing burger. And so that report was released the same week that the Titan sub distraction was occurring in the news cycle.
Did any of you hear of this?
It's important.
Seriously.
So it's very important. Number 7. This one really is awful.
It's gross.
It's gross, yeah. So the USDA approved sale of lab-grown meat by 2 companies, both backed by Bill Gates. That name keeps popping up everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah. So Upside Food and Good Meat, both based in the Bay Area, are the first companies approved by the U.S. to sell meat grown from animal cells. A state long known for pushing the envelope, California is once again in the center of new technology trends for lab-grown meat.
I thought California was bankrupt.
Everyone's leaving.
Right?
But, man, so I don't want to eat fake meat.
No, but, maybe this is how they're going to get the vegans back on some protein.
No, man. I don't know, but that's important. And
it's not really. It wasn't a living being.
But what I want to know. Okay, so I come from the perspective of, okay, so I'm going to eat this beef, or I'm going to eat this organic beef, and you go to the supermarket and you can pick between the two, and there's like a label on there. Are they going to have like a third label or a separate label? How do you know? How do you know if
what's it going to look like? Like, is it going to look like a steak? I mean, what is it?
I don't know. I guess during like Valentine's Day, they'll have little sharp heart-shaped chickens and things like that.
Yeah, they'll have a plastic T-bone with meat growing around it.
That's gross, dude. So that's number 7. Number 8, BlackRock gets caught saying war is good for business. For any of you who are intimately familiar with O'Keefe, he had, what was the media, what was the undercover media source? He cracked the story on the lady saying, well, I need a new Lamborghini or something when she was selling baby parts. What was the media company? I'm going to look that up real fast. What was the media company? Do you remember?
BlackRock recruiter tells O'Keefe Media Group. Who did?
Project Veritas. Project Veritas. So Project Veritas was his original media company. He started another one. They got booted out of Project Veritas. They kind of like did some weird stuff there and it got corrupt. So he started, it was an O'Keefe Media Group. And these guys from BlackRock had been admitted basically that war is good for business. And so that was something that came out right around the same time as a Titan sub. So guys, watch BlackRock. They're interesting. Speaking of BlackRock, that was number 8. This is number 9. So number 9, the SEC said that they are suing every cryptocurrency known to man, causing a flash market crash right after BlackRock announces that it will be launching a Bitcoin ETF conveniently at the same time. So BlackRock's the biggest company in the entire world. I think they have like 10 trillion on the books under asset management. And so while
so the government's like going to artificially cause an implosion of the rest of the cryptocurrency that's out there to make theirs more valuable.
Yeah. So while people sold at the bottom of the crash, people like these companies like Fidelity or Doshi and Citadel all applied for Bitcoin ETFs at the same time. So this signals like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are here to stay. They're not going anywhere.
And it's market manipulation.
Do you think that these actions were coordinated? Is there any chance that they're coordinated between the SEC and these major companies?
Absolutely, they are.
Yeah, man. I have nothing to back that up with. It just certainly.
It's a gut feeling, dude. Like sometimes it's just a gut feeling.
Yeah, it's super sketchy. And anyway, that's number 8. Number 10. So.
$572 billion added to the U.S. debt in several weeks now, exceeding. So our U.S. debt now exceeds China, Japan, Germany, and UK's combined GDP. So we have more debt than those companies combined produce. Yeah. Or those countries produce, right?
Yeah, the total government debt now exceeds 32 trillion. I think on one of our previous podcasts, we were talking about the GDP, and it was like 10 things you need to know for investing. I think it was episode 4. I think I had like a whitehouse.gov source. It said something lower than that.
That's a bad graph.
That's
a bad graph.
Oh, that graph, yeah. I'll put that up on the screen. I think the debt ceiling I had stated in that podcast was substantially lower, and it's actually around 32 to 33 trillion. I believe it's closer to 32 trillion right now. So that is crazy. So the debt is skyrocketing, and this graph you're going to see here, it actually shows this massive uptick right here in 2023. I'll pull it up here on the screen. You can see it, but you got Trump last 3 years, and then under Biden, we see things skyrocket. And then the debt
literally
ceiling
flatlined under Trump. It was flatlined.
Yep.
Wow.
Right before the election in 2020, it starts to kind of go up at the end of 2019. I think that had to do with
COVID,
the COVID stuff
and the stimulus.
Exactly. That they set that STEM bill out. That was the one under Trump, and so. But look at this. So they go in. My word. I mean, they go in. I mean, you can see under Trump, it's just kind of like it creeps up, but it sort of stagnates. And then all of a sudden, it just goes from, what was it, like 22 trillion up to over $32 trillion.
$10 trillion. Okay, so the difference between a million seconds and a billion seconds is what?
A lot.
Right? It's like a million seconds is what, 12 days or something like that. And a billion seconds is 32 years. I mean, it's something ridiculous like that. So a trillion would be, so if it's 1,000 times that, so it'd be 3,200 years.
That's crazy, man. That's insane. These are the 10 things that occurred
Right.
While you're being distracted with other things in the news, guys.
Right. So be careful. Now, let's work on your life and not just in your life. Oh.
Yeah, so we were talking about distractions.
Right.
You know, any of you who know me, you'll hear me say I'm a firm believer that we don't just work in our lives, we should work on our lives. You should architect the life that you want. You should be working on it so that, you always hear me say this too, you're working with a sharp axe. So these are just some things to consider as you're working on your life, not just in your life.
But we also have to be cognizant, and that's something I was thinking about while we were discussing this at lunch and talking about it, right? No matter what we go through here, we still have to be cognizant about just being a good person too. Yeah. I mean, like you can set all these goals and just turn into a freaking robot.
Yep. But
if you're a jerk, what's it matter?
No one cares. Yeah. I mean, you want to be a human being.
Right.
You want to treat people decent. It's not always about measured metrics and numbers and performance based.
Be a good person.
Yeah. But these things do help, and they do help in life and leadership, and they help in business.
They do.
And, we led off with the whole idea of eliminating distractions, and then we proceeded to give you a list of things that occurred while you might have been distracted. Think of that as like a bonus. We're going to go into formally, how you can work on your life, not just in your life, understanding that there's wisdom behind that so that you don't become a robot and turn into a jerk.
Exactly.
Yeah. So first one is define your priorities. Mark, what do you think of when you hear someone say, define your priorities?
Well, especially working in sales and whatnot, right? It's always been, keeping first things first. Mm-hmm. It does. And again, dealing with being a jerk, stuff like that, like if I'm not being the dad I need to be, which means I'm not being the worker I need to be. If in my mind, God's first, like I need to make sure that my priority is, when I get up in the morning, am I literally hitting my knees? Am I getting in the word? Am I trying to improve myself first thing by improving my relationship with God, right? That's me, having God first. Mm-hmm. Second, so God, family, work. That's the way I've always had mine. Mm-hmm. If my family life's not going solid, my work life's not going solid. So if I don't have the top priority going right, the second priority is not going to go right, and the third priority is not going to go right. So it starts at the top. And raising 5 kids on my own, which, working in sales, doing all that, I mean, it is a miracle, and it's been a miracle many, many times. Sometimes I've said in the back of my mind, sometimes the closer I am to 0, the closer I am to God.
The closer you are to 0, the closer you are to God.
In my bank account.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, for me, defining your priorities looks very similar, and I would rank those the same. If you're not right with your maker, that impacts your family. If your family's not doing well, your work is going to suffer, and you want to be right with your spouse. So I would say God first, spouse second, then your kids together, you and your spouse, kids then, after that, and then work. And then from there, if you've got any time left, maybe some hobbies, things like that.
Right.
So, defining your priorities can be powerful, and let's just break away from like the holistic view, and let's look at different boxes and categories, and let's start from the bottom up. So we went from the top down with our priorities. Let's start with work and business. So if you were to say, I'm going to apply this whole idea of prioritizing my life, but I'm going to do it in different boxes. So in my business, what am I prioritizing? Well, what should you prioritize first?
Oh, in your business?
That's right.
Should, I guess it just depends on what you want, but prioritize, revenue. Well, if you put revenue above all else, then that makes your business a really cruddy business, right? There's no soul. So,
but you got to have revenue to have people.
You got to have revenue to have people. So it's a careful balance, but you need to definitely have a good a good vision and a good principle to follow. I would say that as far as work goes, because make sure that you have a good purpose. We're talking about the priorities. Make sure you have a good purpose for your business. And it's something that you can, like, your heart can get behind. That's heartfelt.
Yeah. So if you take care of your people, they're going to be happier, and your clients are going to be happier. If your clients are happier, profits are going to come. You want to be a human being, and that's important. And so for me in business, I'll go out there and just say it. I'll be viewed as a mean guy if I need to be, but I would prioritize profits are important, but it's a tiered or drop down approach, right? As you're getting going, your profits are very important. So you're running lean, right? And once you get that up and going and you're streamlining that, then you shift those priorities, and you restructure.
Why?
Well, you need money to be able to hire somebody.
Right.
You need money to grow and scale.
But why would you reshift the priorities if it worked to get you where you were? If the priorities that you started out with were what got you where you are, why would you change them?
Have you ever seen companies who forget where they came from?
That's what I'm saying.
So you get so big that if it's only about the money, only, ever, always, the good people are going to leave, and you want good people around you.
Right. But what I'm saying is, if you have your certain priorities and you have the actions and the principles and values that you're running on and getting your business going with, why would you want to reevaluate that?
I think that as you grow, some things begin to take on a life of themselves, and things may need to shift in order for something that size to continue, for the gears in the machine to begin to spin and continue to spin. You need different types of oil. You might need a different mechanic. You might need a different approach. And so as you get bigger, those dynamics change.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with that a little bit, simply because
that's okay.
Simply because we have, right, I'm going to use my son-in-law's dad as an example, right? I know somebody that went to work for him. I actually referred him in there, and he owns one of the largest plumbing companies, HVAC, all that in the Denver area. They have about 400 employees. In my friend's orientation week, my son-in-law's dad walked in with a pile of books and put them down, and he's like, "These are free for anybody that wants to go through them. I've read them all. They're great books. And if somebody takes the copy that you wanted, let me know. I'll buy you another copy." And they're all Christian business books. They're all Jesus books, Christian books. Like, they're all to help you be a better person. But he's never veered away from what got him where he is. I mean, he was a plumber. He was out the guy in the dirt, and
you never want to change who you are at heart, but different seasons require different adjustments, don't you think?
Sometimes. But
let's banter on this thing for a minute. Because I'm intrigued, right? Like, so you're saying if you focus on the profits and that's what got you there, then why change that?
No, I'm not talking about focusing on profits.
Okay. No, so
I'm talking.
That's better.
I know. I'm not talking about focusing on the profits ever. Like, I'm talking about focusing on the change you're actually making in the world, what you're doing with the profits, the jobs you're creating, the things like that.
You're saying don't ever change that.
Right.
And that's the heart of don't forget where you came from.
Exactly.
I got you. Okay. We are in agreement with that.
Right.
We are. So I think we were just talking past each other a little bit.
Right. Maybe. But yeah, no, like when you make money your God, then I truly believe that he'll turn off the spigot.
I think God, when you pray to him, he says one of four things. He either says yes, no, not right now, or he fills you so full of it, you're sick of it by the time you're done.
Yeah. No kidding. So,
all right. So yeah, define your priorities, guys. That would be one step in the process of working on your life, not just in it. If you've got good priorities, you know that you're going to spend your time more wisely.
Right.
So number 2 would be set boundaries. Know how to set boundaries.
I'm terrible at setting boundaries. I'm going to be honest with you.
Why is that?
Because
man, I know people who are really great.
It's my stupid phone. It's my phone. Like I can't
turn it off.
No, I can't. Like I will be, and like I was working on getting a loan closed until 11 o'clock last night, and I was back at it at 6 o'clock this morning.
Rock on.
You know, I watched a movie with my daughter last night, you know, which was great. She fell asleep during that. Awesome. But at the same time, was I fully present? No, I was not. My brain was somewhere else. When I had all 5 of my kids at home, Friday night was family night.
Yep.
And we would literally take our phones, everybody's phones, and put them in the kitchen drawer, close the drawer. Done.
Oh.
For the whole night.
Yeah. So I worked with a colleague at one point. He was a lawyer in an oil and gas company that I worked for. And his rule of thumb is he would get home and he'd have that phone on for approximately 1 hour after he was home. And then it went off. And that was for any lagging business that he needed to tie up. But you call that phone 1 minute after that time, you got the voicemail, and he'd call you back right at 6 a.m. sharp. But right. And I always respected that. And, you know, I think that's what you're alluding to as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe just setting those boundaries for, you know, family versus business and knowing when to turn the phone off. That's the hugest thing. Because when I hear that phone go ding, 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 like I want to, like I get anxiety. Like I should look at it. I should return this phone call. I saw it. This person, you know, and they got that little like notification that shows like that you looked at the text or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, oh man, I don't want to be a jerk. You know,
you
like
can turn that off.
Yeah. Like, and so they're like, there's this pressure, but it's hard, you know, and you know, if you're, I mean, I know you and I are like this. We've worked together enough, but if you're anything like a get up and go person is, you know, that makes stuff happen, you're like, man, I'm going to be reliable. I'm going to be Johnny on the spot. I'm going to be available. I can do this. I'm going to work hard. Right. And that's a great attitude to have. But what happens if you work yourself out of a family?
Right. Exactly. And you're not present. So, and you know, just like, you know, right now, just this very minute, I know I have a phone call coming in. I also know I missed a text message from a realtor on a closing I have in 2 days. I also missed a call from my processor. Okay. Like I am doing my best to stay like on track, on focus and everything else. This is my priority right now.
Do you need to step out and take those calls,
nope,
Mark?
I'm not taking them. I am like, but I will tell you that it gets, you know, this is a priority because this is a legacy, right? We're working on this.
Yeah.
So I'm deliberately and legitimately saying, wait.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets tough, but
So when you leave today after we're done recording, you're going to look at your phone and you're going to prioritize the order in which you call these people back.
Mm-hmm.
But right now you're setting a boundary.
Right now I am. And yeah, and I just, we need to do that. And one of the hardest things too is just me being single.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you know, when your teenagers go crawl in their room, what else are you going to do? Might as well work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard to pull teenagers out of their room sometimes. So
I pull mine out sometime and say, let's go hit the squat rack. Times.
Yeah.
Okay. So setting boundaries, guys, know when to set your boundaries, respect your family, you know, and you know, sometimes those boundaries are good. If you're really good at setting boundaries, ask yourself if you're being too much of a jerk. Sometimes you have such stringent boundaries that no one has access to you that needs to collaborate to get work done. So, you know, that one's a balance. Number 3, practice effective time management. And so that ties into your defining priorities. And the concept of time blocking.
I love time blocking.
It's huge. And
yeah.
I have it on my calendar and it's all color coded and it's got numbers and like orange 1 and orange 2. Like, I know, man.
Might be a little extreme, dude.
I know. I don't care. It makes me happy. I find it extremely attractive that my wife keeps a calendar with notes in it. It's really attractive. Just amazing trait. But time management, you can get a lot done. I mean, you can get a whole lot done if you stick to the time management schedule. And
yeah, you can.
What's that?
Yeah, you can definitely.
Yeah, and I mean it's really good, and plan time for when you're going to bed so you can get up early.
But yeah, like you were the other night, I was leaving we went to the pub after the movie, right? I'm like, dude, it's time for me to go home. Like
you were faded.
And you're like, and it's midnight. You're like, oh yeah, like getting old, can't hang, huh? I'm like, well, I've been up since 4, dude. You're like, oh, okay, well, there's that. And I see I sleep 4 or 5 hours a night. That's it. And legitimately, I mean, literally, the next morning you went home and you worked on the pod or the video that we wanted to put up after the movie. And I got home in bed about 1:00, and I woke up and shared the video on my social media at 5:48 in the morning, because that's what I sleep, 4 to 5 hours a night, and that's it. And so you have to take care of yourself in there too, right?
You can sleep when you're
dead. No matter
Mark.
how much crap your buddy wants to give you.
You can sleep when you're dead.
About Mark, being old.
Mark, when you're dead, you can sleep.
Yeah, well, I was almost I was almost there. I was like, I'm
kidding,
good.
Man. You need to sleep. I mean, I'm just
that's one of the things we need about health. And it is just, I'm not an 8-hour sleeper. Yeah. I can, like, people, like, when somebody lays in bed for 10 to 12 hours, I'm like, how do you do that? I absolutely, like, there's so much going on in the world. How do you do that?
Man, I will go, and then I'll have like one day where I just sort of just crash, and then I get up again, and boom, 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 and then I'll have a day where I just rest. And I'll tell my wife, I'm like, okay, I just need like a day, and so she knows, and I'll go, man. I'm like, and you want to take care of yourself. I mean, I work out. I do get up, and I do watch my sleep. I actually track my sleep. I have a little.
Of course you do.
I know, man.
Of course you do.
I mean, it's yeah. I got nothing else. I got nothing there.
Well, and here's the thing too. You're talking about time blocking and whatnot. I give myself Mondays. Like, I'll answer calls and stuff like that, but because my weekends are usually so booked, I'm at, like, this weekend I was at, I was out hanging with some people doing marketing. Like, I'm always marketing, right? But always networking, but always just out hanging with friends doing this. I put together a big table, to go watch the UFC fights. I was out there till 11:00 on Saturday night. I was at church at 7 for sound check, running sound, until I got out of church at 2:15 out in the afternoon. Worked straight through from 7 till 2:15. I'm going to take Monday. And just, I don't have to be anywhere. I'm not going to schedule anything. I'm going to leave. Yeah. I'm taking that for me.
Just take your calls.
And if I need to go get dog food, or if I need to go to, like, I'm just going to go, like, I'm just wear sweats or shorts and flip flops and just fart around for the day.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So effective time management. That was number 3. Number 4, delegation and outsourcing of tasks. So what can you delegate? What can you outsource? And, if you're doing your own laundry and your average pay is, I don't know, $300, $400 an hour, I kind of see that as you're wasting $300 or $400. Now, some people may like that. They may disagree. They may say, I'm going to say that $300 or $400. I'm at home. That's part of what I do. And that's fine if that's you. But, but what about in your business? What can you outsource that will help you spend more time on more money-making activities? And that's what I'm advocating for here. So
no, and you're right. But it's also not just money-making activities, because I have a house cleaner comes in every Friday, takes care of laundry, takes care of bedding, vacuums the floors. I will tell you, like, I come in on, I'm usually not in the house when she's finishing up and everything else, but I come back on Friday afternoon and I'm just like, it feels so good. It's my happy place. It's a good place. But
everything's clean. Everything's
clean. Everything's done. Everything's in its place. I don't have to, like, I can just breathe. But it's emotionally fulfilling to have that, like, done and not be stressed, right?
Yeah.
When you don't have that stress, it helps. So that's one of those.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's a huge one when you're looking to architect life and think through things to make your life better. And, Yeah, so learn to delegate. Write down what can you outsource, what can you delegate, and what's practical. If you got the money to do that and it makes sense, do it. And so I'll move on to the next one here. So what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the power of saying no. Learn how to say no. And I have a hard time with that.
Oh dear, me too.
Because you want to be
you want to be the go-to. You want to be the get it done.
I can do. I'm a can do guy.
Right.
It's like I can do that.
Yep.
And it like I won't give it a second thought. Sometimes I'm like, no, I'll do that. Yeah, I can do that. And it's because you want to be reliable, and learning to say no is important. And sometimes when you say no, you actually become more of a can-do person, and you're more reliable because you're not tied down by so many other tasks that you've committed to. Mm-hmm. And that's wise. That's wisdom.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. And so, okay. So then we'll go on to the next one here. Practice self-care and wellness. You kind of touched on that. So take care of yourself. Have a day.
Have some sleep.
Yeah.
Or just have some rest. Watch some movies. Just take your dogs for a longer walk. Go talk to some people.
Hold your wife's hand and go walk in the park.
Or hold my own hand.
Okay. Oh, that's awkward. Just walking around. Hey, guys.
Hey, how are you today? Yeah, I'm just... Never mind. We're not going to go over there with the jokes.
All right. So the next one is foster supportive relationships. I'm going to reword that to just say foster valuable relationships, or relationships that are value adding or complementing.
Go back to our, which was it, number 2?
Number 2 podcast. Yeah.
We're talking about is it the sum of the 10 people?
Sum total of the 5 most people you hang out
with. Right. But it's also like 3 layers deep, 3 layers removed, things like that. You need to be careful, mindful, and diligent about this group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. These people need to have some substance with them. And, I've hit on this before, but when I say foster valuable relationships, that may have a negative connotation, and it sounds like just hang out with people that you can get stuff out of. That's not what I'm saying. You need to be a valuable person yourself. You need to be somebody who is, what I would consider a high caliber person. If you're going to bring something to the table, bring it. And, and it's okay if you've got friends that bring stuff to the table and you benefit from that. But what are you bringing? And foster those kinds of relationships with people that actually come from a value-adding mindset, I think is huge. And sometimes those value-adding relationships are not like tangible, but they're intangible pieces of value that you get, right? So for an example, as a child, you want to have a valuable relationship with your father. You want to have a valuable relationship with your mother. In business, you would like to have a valuable, good relationship with your boss, and I'm not saying your boss is your daddy or your mommy, but that's kind of a bad combination or comparative there. But, you want to make sure that those relationships you have around you bring something to the table. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to cut some off, guys. I just had to do this with somebody that, dear friend. And it just, I realized it was a very one-sided, selfish relationship that brought a lot of negativity and a lot of things down. And I just finally got to the point. I'm like, and plus he made some decisions that I didn't support. Would not be representative of who I am as a person, my character, and everything else. And I'm like, we got it. This is no longer.
Man, that was a thing for me when I left my corporate job. There were some ethical things going on behind the scenes that were just, I had a hard time with them, and it didn't match up with my character. And I'm not, sticking my nose in the air like I'm something special. But you have a certain standard of excellence in your life, right? And what people present out in public, if behind the scenes, that's not what they're really doing or who they are. Sometimes, cutting those relationships and moving on is, like you said, it's a good thing to do. And so I've done that myself, and we'll continue to do that moving forward. I've learned early on that as you're trying to pursue something more or bigger than yourself, you're going to have people that are going to start yanking at your ankles and trying to pull you back because they're not ready to go put that grind in or do any of that. And sometimes those people need to be kind of put in the distance as well, or put in the rear view rather. And so those supportive relationships, you look around, you're running at a certain speed, who's running next to you, and who can keep up. Like those things are important.
Right. But what does that look like? Right. That's, I just want to like expound on that little point for 30 seconds. Guys, pay attention to who, like, if you're constantly the one reaching out, you're constantly the one trying to pick up the phone. If you're the person that's always like trying to make the relationship work or trying to like, hey, let's go hang out. Hey, what are you up to? Like, if it's not a two-way street, guys, know your value.
Here's a plug for all the single young guys out there. If you're talking to a girl on the phone, or let's say not even on the phone, but you've met, you're talking, and you're trying to engage in some type of romantic relationship. You text her and she doesn't text back for 3 days, and then she finally connects to you and she says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm just bad at texting." And then you finally get her out and take her to dinner, and all she is doing is she's on her phone the whole time. You just look at her and say, "I guess you learned how to text pretty quickly there, didn't you?" And that's it. You end that relationship and you move on.
Yep.
Like 100%. So that's for the younger guys. And then for the ladies, same thing. If you got a guy doing that to you, he can kick rocks.
Yep. People will show you who they are if you let them.
Yeah. And just, that's all good. That's all good. Know your value. And I think that's the thing, that's the key here for fostering healthy relationships or relationships with value is you got to know your own value. And if you don't feel like you're very valuable, you find yourself around people who don't treat you like you have value.
Right.
So, I'm not one of those like health and wellness gurus. Love yourself and kumbaya.
Oh, like, come on. You look like.
Oh, dude.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever. Like go watch the movie Couples Retreat. That's more you. You're the guru there.
Oh, no, about all right. That.
Pursue hobbies and interests. We've both talked about this. Jiu-jitsu and wrestling, fighting, shooting, doing all that kind of stuff. I mean, I have my membership at a gun club. I pay $35 a month. I can walk in there with my 9 anytime I want and punch holes in paper. I call it group therapy.
Yeah,
it's nice.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you like to fight, if you like to shoot guns, if you like to paint, if you like to exercise, get a hobby. And by the way, if you have your priorities straight, you may not always have time for that hobby. But have a hobby and like make sure, if you can, make sure that hobby is something of substance, like that is improving you. Part of your life, working on like what skill do you want to learn? Like somewhere down the road, I'd like to pick up a guitar and learn how to play. Not right now.
I see you doing it. And I see you like putting a little green box because it's a guitar. It starts with G on your calendar.
So not right now, but maybe down the road. Right now, I'd really enjoy.
Yep.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a fun thing. Okay. So moving on to the next one. Knowing when to disconnect and unplug and putting together priorities and plans for that. So disconnecting and unplugging, that is Mondays for Mark.
Pretty much.
And for me, that varies under certain circumstances. Like I'm in the season of work right now. I've got a vacation coming up with the family. And we're heading down to the beach in Florida where there's white sand and it's like walking on baby powder. But, that's different for everyone. Plan for fun, plan for rest. And then the last one would be to, at the end of your day, sit down and be mindful and reflect on how that day went. Who did you talk to? What did you do? How'd the day go? What did you get done? Why did this happen versus that? And try to understand that. And as you're reflecting on the day, you put together plans for the next day. And what did you learn today, and how are we moving forward tomorrow?
I definitely need to be better at this. Yeah.
I go sit on my back porch and fire up the fire pit, and I'll just watch the kids jump on the trampoline. That's what I do.
Right.
So That's all I had. Mark, what about you?
I think these are some good points, guys. Again, if you have questions, if you have any comments, if you just want to like honestly, if you just want to talk about things, we're here. That's what we want to do. We want to, if anything, we're going to set an example of the things that we stand for. Right. So anyway, you can check out our websites, our emails. It's mountainsandleadership.com. Check that out. And guys, don't forget, and ladies, please don't forget who you are, because a lot of times we can get so caught up in what we have going on, so caught up in that relationship, so caught up in our job, so caught up in this. You forget who you are. Don't forget that. Yeah. Don't ever forget who you are.
Yeah. Take a step back, guys. Work on your life, not just in it. Mm-hmm. And don't forget to go see The Sound of Freedom while it's still in theaters.
Please, guys. It's a life changer.
Yeah. So you can find us on the mountainsandleadership.com website. That's Mountains and Leadership Podcast. On YouTube. You can follow us, hit the subscribe button, that little bell down there. It'll give you updates when we upload new videos. And that's all I had for today. So Pat Smith out.
Have a great week, guys.